The more you chase something, the more it runs. But the moment you stop, everything starts chasing you. My friends, that one line will hit different when you've lived it. When you've chased attention, validation, someone's time, someone's love, and watched it slip through your fingers like smoke no matter how tightly you tried to hold on. And yet, the moment you pulled back, the phone lit up, the energy changed, the silence got loud. That's not coincidence. That's the law of emotional gravity. What pulls away creates tension, and tension, that's what brings people back. But only if you know how to use it the right way. If you've ever been ignored, breadcrumbed, or felt like your energy didn't matter, this video is for you. If you're tired of doing the most and getting the least, this video is for you. If you've ever felt that sting of giving someone your whole heart and getting their half interest in return, then you're about to learn something that changes the game. So before we go deeper, do yourself a favor. Press that like button, hit subscribe, and stay with me till the end, because we're not just going to talk about ignoring them. We're going to master the art of ignoring them the right way, the kind that doesn't come from ego, but from power. Hey folks, imagine this. You're a campfire in the middle of the night. Your warmth, your light, your energy, it draws people in. But what happens when someone stands too close for too long? They stop feeling the heat. It becomes normal, expected. They take it for granted. So you dim a little, pull back. Now they feel the chill, the absence, the difference. And suddenly they're drawn to the fire again. But this time, not because it was chasing them, but because they felt the loss of it. That's exactly how your presence works. The more constantly available you are, the more people start to forget your value. You become background noise in their emotional playlist. But when you learn to step back, not to punish but to protect, you become unforgettable. You stop being the one who's always there and start becoming the one they wonder about. We've been sold a lie, my friends, a dangerous one, that the more you love, the more effort you give, the more available you are, the more they'll stay. But here's the truth, no one tells you. Availability without boundaries breeds emotional entitlement. The more you hand yourself over, the more they assume you'll always be there. And they stop earning you. And a person who doesn't have to earn your presence will never value it fully. The Stoics knew this. They didn't run around begging for love, approval, or attention. They moved in silence. They mastered themselves. And by doing so, they became magnetic. As Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one." That's what we're doing here. We're not playing games. We're not ghosting to provoke. We're grounding ourselves in truth, in strength, in purpose, and letting that do the talking. And here's a little fun truth too. When you stop replying in seconds, they'll start checking their phone like it's a magic mirror. When you stop chasing, they start dreaming. You stop performing, and suddenly your quiet becomes mysterious, powerful, even haunting. That's the beauty of silence. It makes people hear their own thoughts about you. So if you've been feeling drained, overextended, or underappreciated, good. That means you're finally waking up. Because this isn't just about ignoring them to win them back. It's about realigning yourself with the man you forgot you were. It's about pulling back, not to make them miss you, but to meet yourself again. Now repeat after me in the comments, "I protect my energy." Say it, show it, type it below, and remind yourself and the world that you are done chasing things that weaken your power. This is the beginning of your shift, brother. Stay with me, we're only getting started. Number 1, the paradox of attention. What you chase will run, what you become will attract. That one cuts deep, doesn't it? Because most people don't want to admit this truth. Attention, when overgiven, becomes invisible. The very thing you think will win someone over, the texting first, the showing up every time, the proving you care, often has the opposite effect. It makes you predictable. And folks, what's predictable loses its emotional impact. Like a song played too many times, it fades into the background, no matter how beautiful it once sounded. Picture this. You're holding a bird in your hand. It's calm at first, curious, but the tighter you hold, the more it flutters. You panic. Maybe if I just grip a little tighter, it'll stay. But you're not comforting it, you're scaring it. Eventually, it breaks free. That's what happens when we grip too tightly to people. We chase, we squeeze, we suffocate the mystery, the space, the emotional contrast that makes someone want to come closer. And in our effort to keep them, we unknowingly push them away. Now maybe you're asking yourself, but what if I stop reaching out and they never come back? Or what if ignoring them makes me lose them forever? And I hear you, truly. That fear is real. The silence is uncomfortable. The distance feels risky. We're wired to close gaps, to fix what feels broken, to fill the space when someone we care about starts pulling away. But here's the uncomfortable truth, my friends. Most people don't leave because you pulled back. They leave because you were never enough of a mystery to miss. See, when you're always available, always explaining, always chasing, they don't need to wonder. There's no emotional curiosity, no space for reflection. And desire lives in that space. It breathes in contrast. It thrives in uncertainty. If someone knows exactly how you'll react, exactly when you'll call, exactly how much effort you'll put in regardless of how little they give, that's not love anymore. That's routine, that's emotional certainty, and that's the slowest death of attraction. But breaking this cycle, it takes strength, because let's be honest, silence feels like punishment at first. You're sitting there thinking, what if they think I don't care? What if they replace me? That's fear talking. That's your mind trying to drag you back into the comfort of overgiving. But the moment you decide to stop pouring into someone who's not pouring back, you stop bleeding your energy. You stop losing parts of yourself in their half-effort responses. The Stoics said it well. He who angers you conquers you. But it's not just anger. It's attention. It's emotional dependency. When someone's response, or lack of it, dictates your peace, they've already conquered you, and that's not who you're becoming. That's not why you're here. You're here because something in you knows you've been giving too much for too little. You're here because you're tired of over-explaining your worth, because you're ready to stop begging to be seen and start standing in your value, even if that means standing alone for a while. And let me tell you something powerful. The moment you stop chasing people is the moment they start looking for you. You may think ignoring someone who once mattered is cold, but it's not about punishment. It's about protection. You're not withholding affection out of spite. You're creating space for respect to grow. You're giving the other person a chance to miss what you once gave so freely. And if they never notice your absence, then they never deserved your presence. So what do you do now? You don't ghost, you don't play games, you simply stop leading with emotion and start walking in principle. You stop reacting, you stop checking if they've watched your story, you stop rewriting your texts 3 times trying to sound casual. You get back to you go to the gym, you study, you create. You reconnect with your mission, the one that existed before they entered your life. And something magical starts to happen. They start to notice, not always right away, but eventually the contrast hits. They remember when your energy was always there, and now it's not. That silence becomes heavy. That absence becomes a question. Where did they go? Why did the attention stop? Who are they becoming without me? That emotional gravity you once gave away freely, it starts pulling them back. not because you asked, but because you grew, and growth is magnetic. And even if they don't come back, even if they never feel the shift, that's okay too, because this isn't about them anymore. This is about you. You're learning not to chase what drains you. You're learning to value silence when words become hollow. You're learning to protect your peace like it's the most sacred thing you own, because it is. And in a world that's addicted to fast replies, emotional outbursts, and constant validation, your ability to stay still, grounded, centered, that makes you powerful beyond belief. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to own this transformation. I want you to anchor it. Comment below, I no longer chase, I attract through stillness. Say it like you mean it. Let the world see that you're not the same person who once begged for attention. You're the one they'll think about when things go quiet, the one they regret losing when the noise fades. And stay with me, because the next part of this journey is even more powerful. We're going to talk about the emotional contrast that forces them to feel your absence. You don't want to miss it. Number 2, the law of emotional contrast. They never miss the sun until it starts setting earlier. My friends, that one stings, doesn't it? Because some people won't even notice your warmth, your light, your effort until it's no longer there. Until your good morning texts stop showing up. Until your check-ins go silent. Until you stop being the emotional pillow they lean on when it's convenient. And suddenly, they start to feel it. That's the law of emotional contrast. People don't feel your value when it's constant. They feel it when it's gone. Let's break this down in a way that really hits. Imagine drinking your favorite coffee every single morning. Day after day, same cup, same routine. At first, it feels special, comforting, even exciting. But over time, your senses adapt. That spark fades. The taste doesn't feel as magical anymore. It becomes expected. Now imagine one morning you wake up and it's just gone. The aroma, missing, the flavor, absent. That's when you realize how much it actually meant. Not during the routine, but during the absence. Because contrast wakes the senses. And when it comes to people, contrast wakes the heart. This is where most people get it twisted. They think consistency alone creates value. And yes, consistency matters, but only when it's earned. See, if you give someone full access to your attention, your energy, your emotions, without making them earn it, they adapt. They stop feeling it. It becomes a background hum in their life. Constant, dependable, and therefore invisible. And when you feel them pulling away, when their texts get shorter, their energy gets colder, their presence gets inconsistent, what's your first instinct? To do more, to prove your worth, to close the emotional gap with effort. But folks, that instinct is exactly what kills attraction, because it removes the contrast. Instead of letting them feel the space, you try to fill it for them. And they never get the emotional tension that makes someone realize what they're about to lose. But the truth is, it's in your absence, not your presence, that they feel your value most deeply. Let that sit for a second. It's not when you're always available. It's not when you're explaining your worth. It's not when you're checking in constantly. It's when you pull back, not from anger, not from games, but from self-respect. That's when they start to feel again. Because your silence has weight, your absence has gravity. It pulls at the parts of them that got too comfortable. It shakes the certainty they built in their head about always having you. And that shaking, that's where curiosity lives. That's where regret starts. That's when they look at their phone wondering, why haven't I heard from them? Why am I thinking about them more now than when they were around? And maybe right now you're wrestling with this. Maybe you're asking, but what if they don't care? What if they move on? What if my silence goes unnoticed? I get it. That fear is loud. It screams for attention. It tells you to play it safe. But let me ask you this, what has playing safe ever gotten you? More love, more respect, or just more of the same cycle where you're overextending and they're underinvesting? You can't be afraid of space. Space is where value breathes. Space is where your presence stops being expected and starts being remembered. It's where people realize what they had once they don't have it anymore. The Stoics didn't beg for attention. They didn't panic when distance appeared. They embraced it. They used it. Because they understood this universal truth. People treat you based on the emotional contrast you create. When you're always there, they get used to it. But when you step back, that contrast hits like cold air in the middle of summer. It wakes them up, and maybe they won't come running back right away. Maybe it takes time, but if they never feel the shift, if they never even notice the absence, then you've just been handed the clearest answer of all. They didn't deserve your consistency in the first place. So what should you do now? You stay grounded. You don't chase. You don't fill the silence just because it's uncomfortable. You let it breathe. You let the space do its work. Because that's where the transformation happens. Not in the noise, in the pause. That's when they start to feel what they never truly appreciated when you were always around. And maybe they won't say it out loud. Maybe they won't reach out right away. But make no mistake, if you were truly valuable, if your energy had real weight, your absence will echo. It will show up in their thoughts, their moods, their dreams, because emotional contrast isn't something you can fake. It's felt deeply. So here's your moment of truth, folks. You're no longer begging to be felt. You're becoming unforgettable through the power of presence and the wisdom to know when to withhold it. Comment below right now. My absence will speak. Say it. Show it. Let it be a message to the version of you that used to overgive, overchase, and over-explain. And don't go anywhere, because next, we're stepping even deeper. Not just into silence, but into stoic discipline, the kind of distance that doesn't come from coldness, but from character. You're not ignoring them to hurt them. You're ignoring them to heal yourself. Stay with me. It only gets better from here. Number 3, the Stoic pullback, not disappearance, but discipline. Sometimes your silence is more powerful than 1,000 perfect words. Let that quote settle in, because it's not just poetic, it's surgical. The world has convinced you that if someone starts pulling away, the answer is to get louder, more messages, more check-ins, more effort. But my friends, the truth, that kind of noise doesn't bring them closer. It only confirms what they already suspected. You're more invested than they are. And when that balance tips, when they feel too certain, too safe, too pursued, they stop valuing your presence. That's why silence, when done right, doesn't push people away. It pulls your power back in. This is where we separate the boys from the grounded, the reactive from the composed. Because most people think pulling back means ghosting, disappearing, playing games. But a Stoic man knows the difference. He doesn't vanish. He withdraws with discipline, not from anger, not from fear, but from clarity. He doesn't run. He stands still. And it's that stillness that shakes the world around him. Let's picture this. You're a lighthouse, solid, unmoving, built on rock. You don't chase the ships. You don't swim out into the storm hoping to be noticed. You shine. You guide. And when the waters get rough, you don't shout louder. You stand taller. That's what the Stoic pullback is. It's not absence out of bitterness. It's presence withheld out of respect for yourself. Now maybe they've been distant lately. Maybe their messages have slowed. Their tone feels colder. Maybe they're testing the waters to see if they can pull back and still have you waiting there with open arms. And everything in you wants to fix it, to reach out, to explain. But here's the thing, folks. Pulling back doesn't mean losing. It means choosing. Choosing peace over performance. Choosing dignity over desperation. Choosing to be the lighthouse, not the wave. Here's the part people won't tell you. When someone senses that your world still revolves around them, they stop orbiting you. But the second you realign with your center, the second you stop flinching every time their energy changes, they feel it. That shift, that silence, that stillness, it's not passive, it's not cold, it's controlled. And trust me, it echoes louder than 1,000 emotionally charged messages ever could. The reason this is so difficult is because silence feels like losing control. You start thinking, what if they forget me? What if they move on? What if they think I don't care anymore? And those fears are normal. But remember this, the person who holds their ground in the storm is remembered long after the ones who screamed into it. Stoic pullback isn't about being heartless, it's about being whole. You're not disappearing to provoke them. You're creating distance to preserve yourself. Think about a sculptor. Every time they chip away at the stone, they're not destroying, they're revealing. And when you pull back, that's exactly what you're doing. You're chipping away the noise, the dependency, the emotional chaos. You're revealing the man who doesn't panic when someone gets distant, the man who doesn't perform for attention, the man who doesn't explain his worth. He embodies it. And what happens next? They feel it. The shift in rhythm, the missing energy. They check their phone and see nothing. They post a story hoping for a response, and it doesn't come. That silence starts to echo in their mind. Why haven't they reached out? Did they stop caring? Have I lost my hold on them? The uncertainty that you used to feel, it flips, because now you've become the unknown. And what's unknown becomes magnetic. But here's the key, folks. Your pullback only works if it's rooted in principle. If you're pulling back hoping they'll chase, it's still about them. But if you're pulling back because your peace matters more than their attention, that's power. That's not a move. That's a mindset. You're not ignoring them to manipulate. You're withdrawing to recalibrate, to remind yourself who you were before they started acting like you were optional. And maybe they'll reach out again, maybe they won't, but either way, you win. Why? Because you chose not to beg. You chose not to bleed out your energy to someone who was offering drops in return. You chose discipline over impulse. And that's how legacies are built, through silence, through stillness, through self-respect. So here's your power move right now. Take a deep breath, stand up straight, and type it in the comments. I pull back with purpose. Let it be your new standard. Show the old version of you, the anxious one, the over-explaining one, the one that was afraid to be ignored, that you've outgrown him. Let the world see that you're not punishing anyone. You're simply done punishing yourself by overextending where it's no longer deserved. And stay with me, because in the next section, we're going to cut even deeper. We'll expose how feeding their ego with attention only keeps you trapped, and how taking that energy back makes you the one they never saw coming. This isn't about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Keep going, brother. We're just getting warmed up. Number 4, starve their ego, not your dignity. When you stop feeding their ego, you start feeding your power. That quote doesn't just whisper truth, it punches you in the chest. Because deep down, you already know what it means. You've felt it, you've lived it. You were the one who kept the conversation going. You were the one who reached out first, who double-texted when they got quiet, who tried to fix the silence with words and affection. And what did it get you? Not more love, not more respect, just more confusion, more distance, more crumbs. You see, my friends, most people don't fall for what's always available. They fall for what makes them feel. And when you're constantly giving likes, replies, compliments, emotional check-ins, you're not making them feel anything except certainty. And certainty, it kills attraction. That's the trap most men fall into. You think more attention will create connection. But in reality, it inflates their ego and deflates your value. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine standing at a vending machine. You press a button and the snack falls. Every single time. Easy. reliable, predictable. Eventually, it's just a machine. But what if one day you press the button and nothing happens? Suddenly you're paying attention, you're checking for jams, you're rereading the instructions. That one moment of disruption triggers curiosity, emotion, investment. That's the difference between feeding someone's ego and creating space for real connection. They don't have to wonder how you feel because you make it obvious. They don't have to reach out because you always do first. They don't need to initiate because you never give them the chance. And when someone never has to wonder, they never have to work. They just sit back and enjoy the attention. And you're trapped in a cycle of emotional overgiving, waiting for breadcrumbs of affection to keep you hanging on. But here's the shift, folks. You don't owe anyone unlimited access to your energy, especially not someone who's treating your presence like an afterthought and pulling back. It's not about revenge, it's about respect. Respect for your time, respect for your emotional bandwidth, respect for the man you're becoming. You're not bitter, you're aware. You're not cold, you're centered. You're not withholding to hurt them, you're withholding because they stopped earning it. See, a Stoic man doesn't react emotionally just because someone else is being inconsistent. He doesn't get baited by games. He doesn't try to prove his worth through over-effort. When someone starts acting detached, passive, or flaky, he doesn't panic. He pulls back, not to manipulate, but to maintain his balance. Now let's be honest, it won't be easy, because every part of you is trained to chase. The moment they grow distant, your mind starts spiraling. What did I do wrong? Should I check in again? Maybe they're just busy. No, stop right there. That's your old programming, the one that kept you stuck in loops of chasing people who never had the capacity to appreciate you. You don't need to prove anything. Let your silence prove everything. They may not notice your effort while it's flowing, but they will feel your absence when it stops. And when that shift happens, when the energy you were pouring into them gets redirected toward yourself, that's when the power dynamic flips. That's when the emotional leverage shifts back in your favor. Not because you tried harder, but because you finally stopped trying at all. You want to know what really gets their attention? It's not a long message. It's not a passive-aggressive status. It's not a perfectly worded response. It's your calm detachment. Your ability to walk away from the tug-of-war and go build your empire in silence. That's what makes people pause. That's what makes people think. And when they don't hear from you, when the attention they used to get without effort suddenly dries up, they start wondering, why did it stop? Did I lose them? Are they talking to someone else? Are they moving on? That uncertainty. That's the very thing they used to shield you from. And now they get to feel it. Not because you wanted them to suffer, but because you finally stopped suffering for their approval. So let me ask you this. Are you feeding their ego, or are you protecting your dignity? Because the truth is, you can't do both. Every time you give more than they're giving back, you chip away at your own value. But every time you hold back with intention, you remind yourself and them that your energy is earned, not expected. Drop this in the comments right now. I protect my energy, not their ego. Say it loud, say it clear. Say it like you're rewriting the script of every moment you overextended yourself for someone who didn't show up for you. And stay with me, brother. Because in the next part of this journey, we're going to talk about how your silence can become your greatest message, not to punish, not to provoke, but to transform the entire dynamic. You're not ignoring them out of pettiness. You're reclaiming your power, one quiet step at a time. Keep walking forward. You're doing this right. Number 5. When you stop explaining, they start wondering. The less you speak, the more they hear. That's the paradox they never saw coming. In a world obsessed with constant updates, fast replies, and emotional transparency, silence isn't just unexpected, it's haunting. And for the one who got used to your energy, your effort, your words, it hits like thunder in a quiet room. Because when you stop explaining yourself, when you stop over-communicating your worth, your intentions, your care, that's when they finally start wondering about you. Not because you said something dramatic, but because, for the first time, you didn't say anything at all. Think about it, my friends. Every time they got distant, you reached out. Every time they got vague, you tried to bring clarity. Every time they left you hanging, you filled in the silence. You tried to explain how much you cared, why you acted the way you did, how badly you wanted things to work. But what did all that explaining ever get you? More connection? Or just more confusion? You see, they weren't confused, they were just comfortable. Because as long as you were doing all the emotional heavy lifting, they never had to question their place in your life. You made it too easy, too predictable, too safe, and what's too safe gets overlooked. But the moment you stop, the moment you pull your energy back, not out of spite but out of self-respect, that's when the silence starts echoing in their head. That's when the thoughts get loud. Why aren't they texting anymore? Why aren't they watching my stories? Did I lose them? Are they done with me? Because that's the part they didn't expect. You to walk away quietly, with no speech, no drama, no grand finale, just peace. The kind of peace that doesn't ask for permission, the kind that doesn't need to explain itself. This is what Stoicism teaches us. To move without broadcasting, to act without reacting, to be the calm in the chaos, not because we don't feel, but because we refuse to let emotions control our frame. As Marcus Aurelius said, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change. But for now, I remain still." That's strength. That's power. That's presence without performance. And here's why that silence is so powerful. It disrupts the pattern. It creates contrast. When they were used to you chasing, reaching, clarifying, apologizing, explaining, and suddenly that pattern stops, they feel it. That absence makes them question not just you, but themselves. It makes them ask, was I wrong? Did I push them too far? But let's be honest, getting to that point takes courage, because silence feels unnatural when you're used to fixing everything with words. It feels dangerous, like you're giving up, like you're walking away from something that still matters. And that's exactly where most people slip. They fill the silence out of fear, out of ego, out of loneliness. But here's the truth, brother. You don't owe them a single sentence when your peace is being violated. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't need to send a long message explaining why you're stepping back. Your silence says more than your words ever could. And the people who genuinely care, they'll feel it, they'll notice, they'll come to you. Not because you begged, but because you stopped begging. The man who stops explaining becomes a mystery, not cold, not distant, just composed. And in a world addicted to oversharing, that mystery becomes magnetic, because mystery breeds desire, curiosity, reflection, the very things that made them feel something in the first place. So next time they go cold, next time the energy feels off, next time you feel the urge to explain yourself one more time, don't. Breathe. Step back. Let the silence carry the message, because it will. It always does. It's not empty, it's intentional. And trust me, if your presence was real, your absence will be unforgettable. You're not trying to win them back, you're winning yourself back. You're no longer trying to convince someone of your worth. You're living in a way that shows it. You're walking like a man who doesn't need to be chosen to feel valuable, a man who has already chosen himself. And that energy, that silence, that composure, it speaks volumes. It lingers longer than any text ever could. It haunts louder than any goodbye. It's the energy that leaves them staring at a screen that used to light up with your name and wondering what happened. Where did you go? Why does it feel so different now? So right now, I want you to take a stand, not just in your actions, but in your mindset. Type this in the comments. My silence is my power. Let it be your new code, a reminder that you don't beg for connection. You become the connection they realize too late they took for granted. And don't go anywhere, because in the next section, we're taking this to the next level. We're going to dive into the magnetic force of mystery, how being unreadable doesn't push them away, but pulls them in like gravity. Stay with me. You're shifting into a whole new frequency, and they'll feel it, even if they don't admit it yet. Number 6. Mystery makes them move. People don't chase what's certain. They chase what confuses their comfort. Let that settle in for a second, because if you've ever wondered why they lost interest the moment you gave them everything, there's your answer. Predictability kills curiosity, and curiosity is the fuel of attraction. When you're an open book, when they know exactly when you'll text, what you'll say, how you'll react, you stop being a person. They start treating you like a pattern. But mystery, that makes people move. It triggers emotion. It stirs something in the brain that logic can't quiet. Here's where most folks go wrong. They confuse mystery with manipulation. They think it means pretending to be busy, playing games, disappearing just to provoke a reaction. No, my friends, that's immaturity. Real mystery doesn't come from being sneaky. It comes from being centered. A Stoic man becomes mysterious not because he hides who he is, but because he doesn't give himself away to people who haven't earned access. Imagine walking into a library. The lights are low, the silence deep, and in the corner is an ancient book, locked, leather-bound, untouched. You don't know what's inside, but something about it draws you in. You want to know. You want to open it. That's how mystery works. It pulls people in, because people are naturally drawn to what they don't fully understand. They're intrigued by what they can't fully predict. When you were always available, always reactive, always expressive, you made yourself easy to figure out. You became the book they already read. And not because you lacked value, but because you overexposed your energy. And here's the truth no one wants to say out loud. They stop valuing what they don't have to work to understand. So when you become unpredictable, not emotionally unstable, but unreadable in a calm, grounded way, they start feeling something they haven't felt in a while. Tension. And that tension is powerful. It makes them think. It makes them feel. It makes them chase, not out of logic, but from a deep emotional pull to close the gap they didn't even realize they cared about until it appeared. Now maybe you're wondering, but if I'm not open, won't they think I'm not interested? Won't they just move on? Listen, if they walk away just because you didn't immediately reveal every layer of yourself, they weren't there for the real you. They were there for the version of you that catered to their comfort, and comfort is the enemy of desire. Let them walk, because what stays will work to stay. Mystery doesn't mean being silent forever. It means being intentional with your energy. It means letting them earn your story, your time, your presence. It means showing just enough to spark curiosity, but holding enough back to spark desire. That's the game changer. Not revealing everything, just enough to make them feel something more is there, and more importantly, that they want to find it. This is why Stoicism is so magnetic. Because when you live in your purpose, when you stay rooted in your mission, when you stop broadcasting every thought, every feeling, every reaction, you naturally become mysterious. You become unpredictable in the best way, not because you're trying to impress, but because you're no longer performing. People can feel when someone is self-contained. It's rare, it's attractive. Because most of the world is loud, reactive, always trying to be understood. But when you become the one who doesn't need to explain, who doesn't overshare, who doesn't rush to respond, you stand out and they notice. Even if they pretend not to, even if they try to act like you don't matter. Your silence becomes the stage where their thoughts perform. Your calm becomes the contrast to their chaos. And in that contrast, the emotional momentum flips. Suddenly, they're the ones asking the questions. Why aren't they texting like before? Why don't I know what they're thinking? What changed? And that shift is powerful, not because you're hiding, but because you've stepped into a deeper version of yourself. You're not there to fill their emotional voids anymore. You're there to build yourself and let the right ones lean in to discover the rest. That's not ego, that's emotional mastery. So if you've been too easy to read, too available, too obvious, it's time to pull back into purpose. Not to play hard to get, but to become hard to forget. Because the version of you that speaks only when needed, that moves only with intention, that holds his energy like a king holds his crown, that version of you is unforgettable. Now drop this in the comments right now. Mystery moves them. Purpose grounds me. Let it be your new standard, a reminder that you're not here to impress people who haven't earned your layers. You're here to protect your presence, to build something sacred within yourself, and to let curiosity do the chasing. And don't go anywhere, because next, we're going to break down how time itself becomes your ally. How the delay in your attention, your presence, your energy becomes the loudest signal they'll ever hear. This is how Stoic attraction works, and you're mastering it, one silent step at a time. Number 7, let time build the tension, not your words. You don't need to chase, you just need to pause long enough for them to feel your absence. Let's get real, my friends. Most people aren't scared of losing you. Not because you don't matter, but because you've never given them a chance to wonder what life feels like without your presence. You've always been there. The fast reply, the instant reaction, the soft landing. And the truth is, when people never have to wait, they stop feeling the weight of your presence. But here's what you need to understand, and understand deeply. Time creates tension, and tension creates emotion. That's what flips the script. That's what brings them back. Not words, not long texts, not reminders of how much you care. No, it's the stillness, the gap, the space you create when you stop rushing in and start letting time speak for you. Let's say they're used to you replying within minutes. They send a vague message, maybe even something cold, and they expect you to jump, to chase, to fill in the blanks like always. But this time, you don't. You don't rush. You don't explain. You wait. You go about your day. You train. You focus. You invest in you. And guess what happens next? They notice. Maybe not immediately, maybe not with fireworks, but inside, something starts to shift. That pause you created, it starts echoing in their mind. Why didn't they reply? Are they upset? Have I lost them? Who are they talking to? Did they move on? That silence becomes louder than any message you could have sent. And that's the point. You're not disappearing. You're not ignoring to hurt. You're just no longer in a rush to be understood. You're letting the silence work for you. You see, in a world addicted to instant gratification, your delay is power. Your restraint is magnetic. Because most people are so used to getting what they want when they want it, that when you don't play by those rules, they feel it. Emotionally, physically, spiritually. Your lack of response forces them to face themselves. It forces them to process, to reflect, to question. That's what time does. It puts the spotlight on their behavior, their words, their absence, because you're no longer filling in the silence with validation. You're not doing the emotional labor anymore. You've stepped back. And when you do it with composure, with calm, with quiet dignity, that's when you become unforgettable. And yes, it's going to be hard. You'll feel the urge to fix it, to reach out, to clear the air. But ask yourself this: why am I always the one trying to bridge the gap? What would happen if you didn't? What if this time they had to carry the weight of what they've created? What if you finally stopped taking responsibility for someone else's distance? That's what letting time build the tension really means. It's trusting the process, trusting your worth. Knowing that if your presence was real, your silence will echo long after you've gone quiet. You don't have to beg anyone to notice you. You just have to give them the space to feel what they've been numb to. Because real talk, if they truly cared, your silence will feel like thunder. If they truly valued you, your pause will feel like an earthquake. And if they didn't, then your silence just saved you more wasted energy. Either way, you win. This is the power of Stoicism. You move with purpose, not pressure. You act with clarity, not chaos. You let others reveal themselves in the stillness you create. And when they do, when they come back, when they check in, when they wonder what happened to your attention, you'll know it wasn't your words that pulled them back. It was your absence. It was your timing. It was the way you stopped performing and started becoming. So if you're feeling tempted to chase today, pause. If you feel the itch to explain, to clarify, to fix, wait. Let them feel the shift. Let them come to you. Not because you need it, but because you've finally remembered who you are. Right now, I want you to drop this in the comments. I let time speak for me. Say it like you mean it. Say it for every moment you rushed to fix what wasn't yours to fix. Say it for the version of you that used to chase silence with noise. That version is gone now, replaced by someone stronger, someone grounded, someone unforgettable. And if this message hit your chest like truth, if it woke something up inside you, then press the like button right now. Subscribe to the channel. Share this with someone who needs to hear it. Because you're not just learning to ignore them the right way. You're becoming someone who doesn't need to be chased to feel powerful. You are the power. Stay grounded, my friends. The next time they pause, let them. Because when you move with stillness, they'll come running back. Not to the person who used to explain, but to the one who finally let silence do the talking.